Well, hello there, everybody. A little bit of Queen. I tell you what, boy, I mean, when they get going, I tell you, I love it. So, how are you? It's Friday as I get everything put together here. And yeah, it's all together. So, happy day, happy day. Can I just speak favor over all of us? Nothing missing, nothing broken ever. And I guess as YouTube gets going, obviously I am not seeing myself, but I know it's a live stream. So, hey, it works out good. So what's up, everyone? Good to see you. And I'm seeing it just go round and around. But hey, that is the reality of our time. And give me 1 second here as I go over here and hit that. And let's see. I don't know. Maybe it's my internet connection and maybe it isn't. But everything seems to be really like slow over on the other side. So hopefully I'll be able to see y'all's comments in the chat. If not, hello. Favor be upon you. Nothing missing, nothing broken at any time. And well, there we go. Have you noticed ever since the CEO of YouTube stepped down that it seems like it's slow? Maybe it's just my false perception, but that's what it does seem like to me. All right, there it is. Everybody is back up. I can see it. So it's a good day. What else is happening? Be of service to others, plant a seed, and when the need arises, it'll always be provided for. You'll always have a harvest. I think I read somewhere that as long as we're in this present time, in this realm, there's a seed time, harvest time. Yeah, that kind of thing. Hey, Marie, what's up? I can say hello to everyone in the chat room now. Chloe, how are you? Got to get you on, my dear. Got to. Robert V, how are you, my friend? Have you been on vacation? And Jenny, getting you back as well, dear. It's like the band is getting back together. Just gotta say hello, Deborah. How are you? Boy, who else is all around? Loretta, good to see you. Joyce, several Deborahs in here. Gogo, what's up, Lori? Good to see you as well. Has anyone heard any updates from Scotty Boy? I haven't either. If someone knows, please let me know. Thank you, Chloe. Yes, ma'am. Right. Grace, what's happened? Happy day. It is indeed. Lost in space. Hey, I hear you guys got a little moisture coming from the sky out there. Man, it's like either, feast or famine. Isn't that the way it always is? Jargo, what's happening? Good to see you, Shirley. Hello, Jeanette. Stephen, good to see you. Man, there's just so many good people here. Roger, yeah, thank you. Roger, you're from Norway. Well, thank you. Welcome, have some hot tea, Pen Greedy, good to see you. Cake Town, how are you, darling? Good to see you as well. Yosley, what's happening? And Scott, good to see you as well. Been taking time to research, and I will be back at it. That's cool. That's cool. I can dig that. Bonnie, what's up, darling? Jenny says, yeah, we need to continue the healing. He's struggling. Well, all we can do is minister the energy of who the essence of that one we call Scotty. He's a dear part of this family, been here a long time. His intelligence, his wit, his humor is something that, well, we need. So there we go. Hey, have you heard this? Lester Holt, NBC News, is reporting. Now, I don't know if this is just some AI thing, but that a mothership is approaching Earth. What the hell does that mean? I know the whole idea of a mothership, but I mean, seriously, what is a mothership? I mean, how big is it? I mean, is it planet size? But that's what I hear. I like to give a shout out to, I tell you folks, there are people that, many of us that, we meet here every day. There's those who listen afterwards every day. And the energy that is put forth into here, and there's a lot of beautiful energy. It's groovy. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. It's far out. But there are some beautiful people, just beautiful people. I got an email yesterday from a couple, Johnny and Piper, and thank you so much. I mean, you just blissed me out of my surroundings. The letter was just filled with so much love, and it's, I think, replicated and represented amongst this group that when we get together, and then subsequently, the other groups. But thank you both. Much love to you, and yeah, we do manifest in our realities. Now, this is just my opinion. It's a test. There's nothing wrong with being tested. Nothing. Back in the day when, the Wild West, the beginning days of the internet, I was privileged to be the CEO of an internet startup company. We helped define what B2B was. It was exciting days. And when I think about the competition to get into investment conferences was intense, particularly the big ones. And the whole process in order to get chosen was a laborious and labor-intensive effort, not just physically, but mentally. And I remember one particularly, we had submitted to present at the Southwest Venture Conference. And that was back in 1999. Yeah. Anyway, this was one back in the day, one of the premier investment conferences in the Southwest. And my company was located in Austin, Texas. We actually had an office at the very beginning down on 6th Street. And if any of you know about Austin, Texas and 6th Street, we were above the library club. It was and when the band came in to practice, typically on Wednesdays and what have you, it got entertaining, but it was cool. Group of creative people. We didn't know what the hell we were doing in this sphere, but man, we were having fun with it. And so getting back to, getting chosen, you had to go through a number of contest preliminaries. And holy crap. I mean, I'll put it this way. If you're thin-skinned, you'll never make it. I went up against a group of judges, and several of the judging panel was from PricewaterhouseCoopers. And freaking this. And there were a number of investors, private angel investors, and et cetera. So, and I remember, when you got all these companies and, they're only going to choose one. And there were over 2,000 entries, applications. And they only chose 20 companies. That was it. And my whole point to this, it was one test after the other. I mean, you had to be you know, classic thing. My company get chosen. And so we go to Dallas. It was in the Anatole Lowe's Hotel. And so the first thing, when you're checking in, I get this envelope and it says, I was required to be at this place. And I didn't even get a chance to get fully checked in. So, and later I found out that this was planned. So you get and you walk around this corner, and of course I have my team with me, and we turned the corner, and then we recognized one of the individuals, one of the investor groups. So long story short, they took me into an elevator that they had completely blocked off from the public. And the hotel, if I remember correctly, had 22, 23 floors to it. And so you had literally, in order to how you were going to be in the time of when you presented, you had to do an elevator pitch. And it took probably about 25 seconds. Mm-hmm. And you got this camera in your face. And yeah, anyway. David Berry, how are you, my friend? Good to see you. Much love to you. How are you, brother? How's everything over there in your world? Mary Hodges, good to see you. So I digress. It's all getting back to the point, being tested. It's a good thing. And I think many of us here were tested by, you create, getting back to Johnny and Piper's letter that they sent, what you create. Once you realize that you can really be actively involved in that process and really create, even despite the negativities, the energies, the flows that would go constantly against you, and you ought to be glad that they do. I mean, if it was just like this, it would have no value to it. I mean, that's why to get to even be considered into a mystery school. Hello, Lauren. Wow. And then you find out most don't get through. So, Jenny, isn't that true, hon? That is, she said, we literally would have zero growth without being tested. Absolutely. That's all I got to say. It works. Yes, and there's a spiritual muscle, Jenny, as you well know. We would have no muscle if there was no resistance of exercise. Bingo. It's a fact, Jack. Hey, Esley, what's up? Hello, Mary. Good to see you, darling. So, New Yoda, what's happening? All right, so let's get into it. I want to get into the first paper that we started talking about yesterday, because we live in a construct that has been falsely put together. We've been taught that there is a God and that there's a supposed, lengthy process of which this God had to go through. And then, he did his part by murdering his alien son. And, the whole Jew on the stick thing, becomes a worldwide phenomenal hit. Governments are predicated upon its teachings, the theory, the ideologies that lead into the political parties. It's all tied together. But it's all a farce. But most people cannot and will not accept that. They'll reject that. It's better to call me a heretic than to have to potentially even afford the potentiality of the thought. And so follow me, if you will. I mean, I'm driving the bus. If you're on it, well, enjoy the party. So let's just talk about this. So again, this is from, the Regenesis of Man. And we know this. We know this from the record, the archaeological record. I talked about this, that 3 million years ago, and it's estimated, by the way, that Homo sapiens are about 1.5 million years old. Now, the question is what was this hominin that stumbled out onto, this tundra? Where did this hominin originate from? The evidence is saying simian. I mean, there's not that much difference between humans and simians. Now, you can say what you want, but that's the facts. So we talked about how they conjured an emotion, a memory, an idea, rather than directly changing the world around us. Symbols changed the way that we perceive them. We know the migration that was from Africa, the African homeland. Humans have colonized all continents and habitable islands, from seashores to the Alpine mountains, from high latitudes to the Arctic tundra to the tropical deserts and forests. The single species aspect. Today, the idea that all humans belong to a single species is taken for granted, and kinshipping is still used to mark the outer boundaries of humankind. Now, here's where we run into the problem with the modern day structure of this illusion that we call reality of our existence. So my question is, again, all right, so these hominins, they were, in fact, of the homogeneous tree, thee be they, and they be thee. Where the hell did the garden happen? Where the hell did this serpent come in? Where the hell did the whole drama, the play? And it is a beautifully written play, because once you get seduced by it and fall under the God spell, bye. Because I want to know, where the hell was Adam and Eve in all this? Where the hell was Enki, Enya on all this? Because we ain't got no record of them ever talking about them. So where did them come from? Us. We invented them. We created them. They're actual living egregores. Powerful. When you get billions of people feeding into that psychic energy, yeah. All right. One human race. According to geneticist Luigi Luca Calavelli Farza, in the DNA, there is one human race, and it originated in Africa. So we talk about philosophy, eschatology of religion, theology, ideologies of all different kinds. Yet this here would call every one of those books liars. That's all you can say. They're liars. They're making up a story and a construct that we have bought into, which has fed into their purpose and their agenda, and it always ends up bad for us. Always. All right. The Kiosan Nabi, we know there were multiple dispersals out of Africa, but we can now trace our ancestry back to a single one. And the interesting thing is the record shows that it was a female that they found. Now, I don't know. Was this simian? Did they walk up to a spaceship? Did someone, take possession of it? Were there experiments done? I have a book over here, and it's one that people will not read. I remember when I did the show on it. So according to one anthropologist, he says that the reason why we today, Homo sapiens, are where we are, was because of this first group of simians that ate the brains of their pack. And when they consumed the brain tissue, something happened. It triggered something genetically. Great book, by the way. So let me go on. So the African dark mother, not only were these true human Africans and first to sail and use technology, but they also appear to have been the first to venerate the African dark mother. Now, it's clear that the archaeological, the record itself, paleontologists, those who do this and have dedicated their life to it, shows the original, and that's all I can say, the only evidence that we have of a potential goddess is their records. What they left us a ship in the bottle, so to speak. An SOS. Going to do a show next week that humanity is in a SOS position. You know what SOS is? Stuck on stupid. But anyway, human history. Migration across great distances is one of the fundamental processes of human history. Cradle of mankind. This is the whole point of getting into our next book about, Ghostland. Because, I wonder if our parents here, and you have to call them our parents, they weren't white, weren't blonde hair and blue eyes, apparently. Weren't in no garden. No. For them, if you ventured out past 2 miles, you were a far distance from your domicile, because there were things out there that would eat you. Big things. Anyway, the cradle of humankind. Now, if you are under the spell, you still believe that there was really this place called Eden. And the whole plethora of the gods and all the drama of the angels and of the demons, and we have Satan. Well, the record actually shows something far different. It says the primary locations included the Gregory Rift Valley in East Africa and the southern caves in the High Velter Veld. Uh-oh. Well, then what the hell's going on here? Now, did these early hominins, did they have a soul? Were they spiritual? Apparently they were. In fact, the aspects of their existence is more dominated by their spirituality than anything else. Weird. So, Africa, Asia, out of Africa versus out of Asia. Yeah, I mean, you got to look at this. So, northern African glaciations resulted in a cool tropical climate around 3.3 million years ago, presenting excellent conditions for woodland dwelling, the Australopithecus, or the earliest genus of African hominins. Numerous paleontologists, archaeologists, physical anthropologists, and geneticists, including the world-renowned L. Luca Cavalli Forza, agreed that from this tropical setting emerged a single widespread unique species with advanced technological skills circa about 3 million years ago. Exceptional ancient finds have been discovered in several primary locations, including the Gregory Rift Valley in East Africa and the southern caves in the High Veldt or Veld. Given these significant discoveries, this area is known as the cradle of humankind. New technologies and finds continue to impact timelines and dating considerations of these discoveries, as it is also true of the subsequent African expansion. Given the new technologies, recent fossil discoveries, higher resolution imagers, and geomagnetic scanners, DNA molecules, dental calculus, plus new genomic tools, and reanalysis of the African emergence to the subtropical Asia continue to revise not only timelines, but also other significant determinations. One such African-centric revision is the study by Roy Lerck and Russell L. Cochran in the African emergence and early Asian dispersals of the genus Homo, suggesting that Homo sapiens began migrating out of Africa approximately 1 to 1.5 million years ago. Now, I'm just going to stop here because we're going to get back into our other story. But so what I want to present here is how do we balance this out? Because I'm just going to say it for what it is. If angels exist, if demons exist, if there is this cast of characters that existed, it's very clear we invented them. Or something traumatic has happened to our species that wiped our memories. I mean, is there other life and intelligence in the universe? Is there higher degrees of civilizations? We would definitely have been considered a zip civilization. I mean, that's how they would view us. So Inlo says, all we can say for sure is that none of us know the truth. But we do know the truth, Inlo. That's the point to my whole point. How do you reconcile the geological record to the theological beliefs of today? Kenny knows. I love it, Bunny. That's why they're always trying to kill him. Oh my God, they killed Benny. Yeah. All I'm trying to do is interject a counter thought, because it gets down to this thing about us individually. Are we more advanced than the sapiens of 1 million years ago? Have we evolved at all, or have we de-evolved? The stories don't make sense. In the beginning was God. So what? Who? We have no proof of that. Who told you that that was truth? Who told you? What, you read it in a book? Someone said that that's the way it is? There's absolutely no proof of that. But for a pliable, dumb species, unintelligent, well, they'd probably buy into that very easily. Because it's easy. You don't have to really consider the freaking alternative. Now, I'm not saying that there is not what I would consider the first consciousness. But what I am also pointing out was that these were thinking humans. And it seems that they were seeking the same thing, or they may have had a knowledge, because we don't know about this mother goddess. She's been removed from our memory, which implies that someone or something did it deliberately. But as humans, we know we're only here for a very short period of time. Our mortality is ever present. the specter of death that awaits us all. Now, as cattle or as sheep, you're herded into a certain corral that then begins to define who you are individually. Well, I don't want to be in any corral. I certainly don't want to be with a sheep. You know what happens eventually with a shepherd? You know what a shepherd really does? Leads you to the slaughterhouse. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They don't teach that so much, do they? So I'm just bringing this out, folks, because you can't have it both ways. Now, what is interesting, if you think about the natural process of progression of organic matter, and whether that organic matter is comprised of essences that we cannot see or understand or comprehend, yet what we do know is that we can look at ourselves in the reflection, and either we're talking monkeys or something else. Yeah. I mean, this is a deep subject, because there is something that exists in this other realm. But hear me out on this. So if we have the archaeological record, our science and technology has advanced to a point that even 10 years ago would have been unfathomable what we can do now. We can take DNA samples from the ground. So, how do you then say, okay, if we've been here for a million and a half years, I was up late last night meditating on this, then it would mean that we're a mistake. We're an experiment that went bad. Because if it's taken us a million years to evolve to where we are today, whoa, that's not progress. And if anything, the current state of humanity today can be summed up in one word: chaos. Our technology has outgrown us. It's enslaved us. So, how did the spiritual realm exist? If there were no humans over there, why would humans be allowed there to begin with? Think about this, folks. If it's true that we actually evolved from simians, think about this. That means our kind would be foreigners, would be alien. Oh, we all want to believe that we've always had some sort of representation, but that's just mere theology. It's a hypothesis. It can't be proven. But what we can deduct is that if humans are a recent thing that has evolved, whether by nature or otherwise manipulated, it would mean that the ethereal realm, the spiritual realm, would be, you got to ask yourself, are we just party crashers? I mean, apparently, if you look at the math, at some point you have to go back and you would say there were 0 humans in heaven, 0 humans in the ethereal. There were zero ghosts. There were zero nothings. There was no souls. And by the way, if it is true in the way that the process is looking, who the hell gave us a soul? How do we think? Where do we think we got a soul from? What, was that a transference from the animal kingdom? Because man is classified in the animal kingdom. I mean, I'm just putting it out there because at some point in time, where did things change? I mean, I don't know if our ancestors, our ancient mothers and fathers, did they consider death to be the finality? It appears they did. It appears that once the life left out of the energy out of this body, you dissipated back into what brought us here to begin with. Because think about it. If there was a young child 1,000,000 years ago, sapient, which means wise man, did she have a spirit? Does she have memories? Are her memories just as important as yours? Did she reincarnate? But from where? I can't use the Jewish thought of the gull because the Jewish God doesn't come into the scene for nearly 1,000,000 years down the road. No sign of him. No sign of Enki, Inyel, none of them. Where the hell did they come from? I'm just throwing it out there for discussion purposes, asking for a friend. Because this is what we have to deal with. And if what happens in death is really what they tell us, then this is all a recent creation. But who created it? And why? Was there nothing smart enough to anticipate that if they could see into the future, the evolution of this species, that they would revolve and evolve to this point today, that someone said, hey, you think we ought to make a place for them after they die? Doesn't appear to be. I mean, so you have the first Anthropopithecus, and I know I mispronounced that, but anyway. I mean, did they walk into heaven? Did they walk into the spirit realm? Hey, how you doing? Who the hell are you? I'm a new species. Oh, really? Yeah. And how many more of there are you? Well, right now there's only me. But in the future, there's going to be billions of me, maybe trillions. Oh, really? And you claiming this spear as yours? Well, it sure looks nice here. Yeah, I think we might. I mean, at some point in time, we're moving in on territory we never owned or probably was never even thought about. Monkey experiment, what's up? I'm just throwing it out there. Because we get so wrapped up into this whole freaking structure. Who is Yahweh? Yeah, I've seen that. Yep. I got the book. So my whole point is it's all fabricated. No evidence of anything. And any evidence that can be found, we did it. We put it there. Us. It's nuts. So, since I threw that out there, I mean, folks, look at this. And look at us today. You know, it's nuts. I'm just saying. You know, it's amazing what we do as a collective, as a species. And what we actually think that what is truth, what is reality. There's really very little of actual truth in this reality. Hey, London man, what's up? Good to see you. So let's continue with our story. Oh, yeah. Because, it seems like Ghostland may have been the place that was made for us. So we've learned a little bit about our friend as he finds out that he is one that has the gift of clairvoyance. He is a flying soul. We learned about each of us have our photosphere around us, and that we have Professor von Mark. So they went to England, and the professor was exceedingly generous and distributed his abundant means with an unstinted hand. Means he was very generous. One day, discoursing with me on the subject of his lavish expenditure, he remarked carelessly, "There is that mineral quality in my organism, Lewis, which attracts me to me and easily subjects to my control of the elemental spirits who rule in the mineral kingdom." Someone is really getting a epiphany. "Have I not informed you how invaluably I can tell the quality of minds, however distant? How often have I stumbled as if by accident upon buried treasures? And how consistently my investments and speculations have resulted in financial success? Lewis, I attract money because I attract mineral elements and the spirits who rule in that realm of nature." Now, here's the contrast. I believe that these elements existed before man was ever even thought of. If there's anything that I would probably attribute to actual fact, would be the elemental spirits. Because I can see, sense, feel their cause and effect. I can see it in my life. So this is not a problem for me. I wonder what would happen if more of humanity did recognize these elementals. Well, that's that witchcraft crap, Steiger. Yeah. Witch does mean wise woman, right? I neither seek nor covet wealth. I love precious stones for their beauty and magnetic virtues. But money, as a mere possession, I despise. Were I as mercenary in my disposition as I am powerful in the means of gaining wealth, I could be richer than Croesus and command a larger purse than Fortunus. Is it not strange, my master, I replied, that the speciality of your physical nature, namely the power of attracting riches, as you allege, should not find a corresponding desire in your soul? Not at all, Lewis. On the contrary, nature is purely harmonious and ever tends to equilibrium in all her strivings. We always think of nature in the feminine, don't we? Mm-hmm. Have you not remarked how often the possession of a special gift is accompanied by the indifference to its possession? Good singers, great musicians, and even poets, painters, and sculptors rarely estimate their gifts as highly as the world that enjoys them. They are ever dissatisfied with themselves, and unless the world praises, applauds, and recompenses them, they find but little or no interior reward from the mere exercise of their faculty. And thus it is with all nature's gifts. Abundance of strength in the physical departments of our being rarely accompanies unusual vigor of thought or profundity of intellect. Muscle and brain seldom hold companionship. And so the magnetic attractions which draw unto me, physique, the metallic treasures of the earth, fail to find any response in the magnetic attraction of my spirit. Whereas, were I so constituted as to lack the force which attracts the service of the spirits of the metals, my soul would feel and yearn for a supply of the deficiency in a constant aspiration for money and treasure. Now, that's a weird way of saying it, but I'll just put it into common language. If it's your single pursuit, yeah. I've read somewhere in Proverbs that says that he who chases wealth chases the wind. Same thing. And it is why, as I then believe, Professor von Mark was rich, but did not care for the value of his wealth, whilst with so many millions who do not possess in their organism that peculiar mineral quality which, as the Brotherhood taught, was necessary to attract wealth, pine for its possession, yet spend their lives vainly in its pursuit. It becomes necessary for the benefit of any students of psychological mysteries who may pursue these pages that I should here state, as briefly as possible, the specialities in my association with the Berlin Brotherhood, which attracted them to me, is this. They believed, and with good reason, that the spiritual essence in man, called soul, is susceptible of acting a part independent to some extent of the body, that when the body is entranced, the subsides into perfect rest beneath the actions of the mesmeric sleep, being hypnotized, the spirit, becoming liberated from its control, acquires highly exalted functions, amongst which are the powers of traversing space and beholding objects through the lucidity of spiritual light. Professor Van Mark had detected through certain signs familiar to good memorists that I was a subject for magnetic experiments. My power as a clairvoyant exceeded what he had anticipated. Hence, my service to the Brotherhood was highly appreciated. Ever since the practices of Mesmer had become familiar to them, they had delighted in pursuing them in support of their favorite theory, which was that the soul essence of man could appear, make signs, sounds, and disturbances in places distant from the body. That at times when these soul essences were dissipated suddenly, as in the action of violent death, they inhered to earthly things and places. Listen, folks, this is what their belief is, and it may explain a lot. Oh, y'all going to love this. I mean, this gets really good. And for time could maintain a sort of vague, shadowy existence, which at length melted away and became dissipated in space, to be taken up from the grand reservoir of spiritual essence in other souls. Now, the brothers insisted that these soul essences, which they called the double goer, and more frequently the atmospheric spirit, by its occasional appearances, both before and after the death of individuals, covered the whole ground of specters, ghosts, apparitions, hauntings, and supernaturalism in general. The fact that the atmospheric spirit often lingered around the earth after the death of the body and could be seen, heard, and felt did not militate against their theory that immortality was a fiction and that the soul died with the body. It was merely the atmospheric spirit, a shadowy remnant of the soul, they said, which had ever been seen or manifested in the realm of ghostland. And this was not a permanent, intelligent existence, but merely a temporary relic of the broken organism, like the perfume which lingers about the spot where the flowers have been. By repeated and patient experiments with their magnetic subjects, they found that they could send the double or the atmospheric spirit abroad into the somnambulic sleep, and that it could be seen, heard, and felt precisely like the specters that were claimed to have been manifested in tales of the supernatural. About those smells, I mean, many of us have experienced that. My wife's father, who passed away a long time ago, she said used to smoke cigars. Now, when we first got married, I smelt cigars, and she did on occasion as well. You can deduce for yourself what you may want, but yeah. On one occasion, the society, and I just heard someone saying, so it's, don't be frightened by this. I mean, this is a thought, as many thoughts are. I mean, the fact that you think that you would lose your memories, your experiences, yeah. And it kind of blows a hole into the whole reincarnation thing. How the hell does that work? On one occasion, the society, having thrown me into a profound sleep by the aid of vital magnetism and vapors of nitrous oxide gas, how about that? Excuse me, they directed my atmospheric spirit to proceed in company with two other lucid subjects to a certain castle in Bohemia, where friends of theirs resided, and then and there to make disturbances by throwing stones, moving ponderable bodies, shrieking, groaning, and tramping heavily, etc., etc. I here state emphatically, and upon the honor of one devoted only to the interest of truth, that these disturbances were made, and made by the spirits of myself and two other yet living beings, a girl and a boy, who were subjects of the society. And though we, in our own individualities, remembered nothing whatsoever of our performance, we were shortly afterwards shown a long and startling newspaper account of the hauntings in the castle of Baron von L., of which we were the authors. In a work devoted to the relation of occult narratives, I have in my library at this moment an account of the manifestations, as they were termed, which occurred on 3 separate occasions at a certain castle in Bohemia. The writer attributes these disturbances to disembodied spirits, but in the particular case in question, I insist that the atmospheric spirits of the Berlin Brotherhood were the authors of the facts recorded. As the experiments of these grave gentlemen were neither pursued in fun or mischief, but solely with a view to evolve the rational of the psychological science, I must confess that they followed out their experiments without remorse or consideration for the feelings of others. And as we were all bound by the most solemn oaths of secrecy, there was little or no chance that a solution to any of the mysteries that originated in our circle could escape from its charmed precincts. I am now writing at a period of nearly half a century after the following occurrence, where will be no impropriety, therefore, in my recalling to any individual who may chance to retain a recollection of the events, the scandal that prevailed about 50 years ago in a town in Russia, concerning a nobleman much given to the study of occult arts. This is an interesting story, folks. who was alleged to have put to death a young country girl whom he had subjected to some months to his magical experiments, and that for the purpose of proving whether her atmospheric spirit, violently thrust out of the body in the vigor of vitality, could not continue hovering around the scene of death and make manifestations palatable to the sense of sight and sound. Wow. Where some people's heads are at. The popular rumor concerning this barbarous sacrifice was that the nobleman in question had seduced the unhappy peasant girl, and after having periled her immortal soul by his magical arts, he had ruthlessly destroyed her body for fear she should betray him. Certain it was that the gentleman in question was charged with murder, tried and acquitted, just as it was supposed as any other powerful nobleman in his place would have been. The results, however, were that strange and horrible disturbances took place in his castle. The affrighted domestics alleged that the spirit of the victim held possession of her destroyer's dwelling, and night after night her wild shrieks and blood-stained form, flying through the gallery and courtier, made night hideous and startled the surrounding peasantry from slumber. Rumor added that the ghost, the specter, or the atmospheric spirit, whatever it might be, was not laid for years, and that the adept who had resorted to such terrible methods of gratifying his insatiated thirst for occult knowledge paid a tremendous penalty for what he had sought. Torture was the horrible phantom he had invoked. His mind succumbed and became a mere wreck. At the time when I commenced my experiences with the Brotherhood, this man, who had once been an honored member of their society, was confined to a hopeless lunatic, whilst his castle and estate were abandoned by his heirs to the possession of the dead haunter and the destructive spirit of neglect and dilapidation. It was by the command of my associates that I one night visited in the magnetic sleep the cell of the lunatic, and being charged by the power of the brothers with their combined magnetic force, I threw it on the maniac. And by this means, whilst his suffering body slumbered tranquilly, I returned to our sanctuary with his spirit. This is really interesting. I mean, the implication here is that any one of us potentially could be literally kidnapped in the spirit realm. I continue. And from the records of that night's proceeding, I extract the following minutes of what transpired. He, whose office I am not permitted by my honor to name, I shall call Grand Master. And he thus questioned what was always called on these occasions the flying soul of the maniac. Well, I'm going to go over on this, folks, because this will really set your whole weekend on. Grand Master, did you kill the body of A.M.? Answer truly. Flying soul, I did. Grand Master, for what purpose and how? To ascertain if the atmospheric spirit, being full of life, could remain with me. I killed her by sudden blow, so as to let all the life out at once. And I drew out the spirit from the dead form by mesmeric passes. Did you see that spirit pass? I did. How did it look? Exactly like the body, only it wore an aspect of horror, an appeal terrible to behold. Did the spirit stay with you? And how long? Did it obey you and act intelligently, or did it act a merely automatic part? Mortals, this is the guy, FS, the flying soul. Mortals know that there is no death. Did you get that? I did not kill AM. I only broke up the temple in which her soul dwelt. Whoa! That's messed up, man. That soul is immortal and cannot die. I found this out the moment after it had left the body. After it had left the body, for it looked upon me, spoke to me, and reproached me. O God in heavens, saints and angels, pity me. It spoke to me as intelligently, but far, far more potentially than ever it had done an earthly being. It was not dead. It could not die. It never will die. And so it told me at once, but me, miserable, when I sank down aghast and struck with ineffable horror, as the spirit approached me in a deep swoon. I entered the land of immortal souls. There I saw many people whom I had thought dead, but who were all still living. There too I saw the still living and radiantly glorious soul of my old pastor, Michael H. Sternly, but sorrowfully he told me I had committed a great and irreparable crime, that all crime was unpardonable and could only be wiped out by personal and not by vicarious atonement, as he had falsely taught whilst on earth, that my only means of atonement was suffering, and that in kind or in connection with my dreadful crime, that as the poor victim would be engaged during the term of her earthly life, broken short by my act, in working it out in an earthly sphere. So her magnetism actually attracted, as I had deemed, to the spot where her life had been taken, would continue to haunt me and repeat in vision the last dread act of murder until her life essence should melt away and her spirit become free to quit the earth and progress as she would do to higher spheres. Sometimes, this stern teacher informed me, I should see the real living soul of my victim, and then it would be as a pitying angel striving to help me. But still oftener, I should see only the specter, and this would always appear as in the death moment, an avenging form, partly conjured up from my own memory and partly from the magnetic aura of my victim, and always taking the shape and circumstances of my dreadful crime. Mortals, there is much more to tell you of the awful realms beyond the grave and the solemn connection between life and death, but more I dare not speak. Human beings will soon learn it for themselves, for the souls of the immortals are you ready for this, folks? For the souls of the immortals are preparing to bridge over the gulf of death, and men and spirits will yet cross and recross it. Meantime, ye are the blind leading the blind, deceiving yourselves with a vain philosophy, and deceiving all to whom you teach it. There is no death. I must be gone. Hark, I am called. The minutes which followed on this strange revelation of the Magick's flying soul added, it would seem that the body was distributed in its symbolism, and that the soul recalled, but we could have gained nothing by prolonging this interview, for evidently that soul had returned to its lucid intervals, to the ancient and false philosophy in which it had childhood been instructed, namely the magical belief in its immortality. The spirits of lunatics can be evoked and always speak and think rationally when freed from the disordered body. But we note that they most commonly go back to the rudimental periods of their existence and generally insist on the proper myth of immortality. Perhaps they are in air rapport with the prevailing opinions of men and are thus psychologized into repeating the accepted ideas. There is nothing, however, to be gained from this experiment. We'll pick up on chapter 3 on Monday. Well, hell of a story, ain't it? Yeah. I tell you what, this is a zoo down here. I mean, it's better than that. It truly is an amusement park. I mean, it is. I mean, there are rides that you and I are on that you get off at, that's Tilt-A-Whirl, and you get off of that and you say, why the hell did I ever do that? But yet you like getting back on. Unless, the kid 4 people down from you suddenly gets about, vertigo. Deborah, you're welcome, my dear. It is a good story. I mean, I don't know if it's true or not. I wasn't there. But hey, listen, I was taught for 50 words of a book that I never saw the author who wrote it. Every word was true and infallible. So, what do I know? Mary Wynn's love to you too. Appreciate it. Hey, Lauren, how are you? All I know is what I'm experiencing now. I don't know about over there, but holy crap. And if you get the first part of the story, about our ancient beginnings, I mean, I'm playing this out in my head. I can see it. The first human arrives in heaven. And everybody looks at him and says, who the hell or what the hell is that? And then someone says, oh, man, you better get rid of them now. That they breed like cockroaches. They didn't listen. Okay, have yourselves a great weekend. Enjoy it, folks. It's, I don't know. It's the joy and the mystery, the fact that if there is this other side, this ghost land, man, does that sound really weird? But I mean, I don't know. But it does kind of make sense. I mean, like shadow figures. We know that they exist. We've captured them on film, by our electronic eyes. And it's interesting thing about these other beings, because we see this fact that, for instance, children that die and then come back over here, we know that there's a distortion to the eyes and into the effect. And then you've got these really weird creatures that can crawl on the ceilings, and it's only in certain specters of light can you actually see them as well. Weird shit. And then you got the people who's running the video camera and never sees the shadow figure. There are those people that actually have shadow figures living in their abode, their houses. Well, that's some weird shit. Woof. And then you got those videos where, there's a glass door. I've seen 2 different kinds. I've seen a pantry door that was glass that, holy crap, the girl that appears on the other side, she can, what the hell? Yeah. So, Alan, you see, you can tell an intelligent person by their sense of humor. I love that. Jesus with a mushroom concept. I really do believe that there's true. And listen, in my youth, when I was out on the communes, tripping my ass off, it was about love, baby. It was about peace. Yeah. Yeah. I'd had enough violence. I was a victim of violence. It sucked, But anyway, Joyce and Scotty, if you're listening to this, the tribe is sending you love. They're sending you healing. And they said, get your ass back on here. So anyway. Okay, folks, this is fun. Deep thoughts for the soul tribe. There we go. All right. Have yourselves a fabulous couple of days. I'll see you back on Monday. We'll pick this back up and find the bluebird of happiness for your soul. I mean that. We have been blissed out of our, it's fantastic, an area that where was not supposed we have bluebirds. And here is the omen about bluebirds. They bring happiness, they bring wealth, they bring prosperity, they bring healing. So find that bluebird of happiness. All right. Much love, everyone. Thank you.